guys, it's Mandy Von Knits. That is my handle on Instagram, YouTube, and Ravelry, so you can find me on all three of those places under that name. I am here to talk to you about knitting and crocheting and sometimes machine knitting, a little bit of yarn. So if you like any of those, a combination of those things, you're in the right place. Even if you don't and just want to hang out, I'm good with that too. So this is a little, I don't know, I'm going to call it a little mini-sode that I put together called Diary of a Sweater Knitter. I take some of my sweaters or cardigans that I've crafted in one of those ways and just talk about them for a little bit, talk about the design choices that I made, the yarn that I used, how long it took me, difficulties with the patterns and things like that. So today on this episode, I have 3 garments to talk to you about. The Garter Marler cardigan by Stephen West. I have Easter West by Joji Locatelli, which is a sweater. It's beautiful. And not very many projects for that one, so I'm excited to show you it. And then there's this one. This is the Cloud 9 cardigan by Jennifer. It is crocheted. It's the crochet garment that I'm featuring today. So if any of this interests you, or you think you want to hang around and see what I have to offer, just stick around and here I go. Okay, this is the Cloud 9 cardigan by Jennifer. It is done with Hobie rainbow sock yarn. It's 8-ply. Now, if you know, or if you've been around previously, you know that I'm not quite a big fan of heavier weight yarn just because it's heavy. It's physically heavy for me. I am in a wheelchair and both the yarn weight, the physical weight of the yarn, and the fact that it makes me really, really hot, it just doesn't usually bode well with me making a garment in this. But I made an exception for this yarn. This is a wool nylon mix. So it's your standard sock weight yarn, except it's in light worsted DK-ish. I'm a big fan of how this came out. I love the cardigan, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the pattern now because I found it so very unique. Now, when you get this pattern, you have a choice. The original pattern sample was knit crocheted like I crocheted this one. If you look at it, see this sleeve? Now look at this sleeve. They're different, right? I love that. I don't know why that makes my heart so happy, but having an asymmetrical pattern on both the sleeves and the front of the cardigan is just, it made it so much more interesting to crochet and to wear. Like, how many times do you see that in a pattern? Everything's like 80% of the time it's matching. So whenever you find like a pattern that sticks out, that just goes against what's the norm, it has a special place in my heart. Now this yarn is what I think to be a great choice for this pattern. It's pretty inexpensive, like I said, generally around $5 or $6 for a skein. And I ended up making this cardigan for probably $40-ish. It didn't take that much, and that's even with crochet eating more yarn than knitting would, just because the stitches take up more space. Now, I remember getting I would say as I was finishing this cardigan, I started getting antsy, which is generally something that happens to me. I'm more of a monogamous knitter, so when I sit down and work on a garment, I'm like there. and I'm working on that generally until it's completed. So this is not always the best way. I mean, it seems like the best way, kind of, because you get things done quicker because you're laser focused on them. But heed my warning. Sometimes a pattern takes a long time and you start cutting corners. Let's look at this, for instance. See this right here? This is supposed to be some ribbing. Do you see how thin I made that? It's not very thick. Ideally, I probably would have gone, I'd say my standard ribbing is probably 2-ish inches, 2.5. I do like a thicker ribbing, but this is really, really thin. As you can see though, I made this cardigan oversized, and I did that on purpose, you know, this time. And I really do like the way it fits. It's one of those cardigans that you can put on in the middle of winter and just like be warm and comfortable. Sometimes, depending on how my body's feeling, my temperature will go from like I'm hot all the time to I'm cold all the time. So sometimes in the winter when I'm freezing, it's nice to have a garment like this that I can just throw on. Now for the pattern, I did not make any modifications. She gives you the option of making fronts that match and sleeves that match. So if this isn't your thing, you can go ahead and make a matching cardigan with perfect symmetry, but I kind of like the way that this looks. Now, if you go look at the sample pattern that was crocheted up, it is a much form-fitting garment. I believe I made an extra large or a large for this one. So I purposely upsized it. I thought that since it's a heavier weight yarn, it would be better if it were oversized, and that way I could just use it as like a throw on over whatever I'm wearing if I'm really cold that day. I did not have any problem with the stitches, and there are quite a bit of them, but the pattern goes over them and what you're doing in detail. And I love this. This texture is so nice. And it was not hard, not with the pattern. A good thing about the pattern, this is ribbing up here, and then there's more texture over here, and then we have a different pattern with ribbing, texture, etc. So the one cool thing about this pattern is that it is in Dutch and English, I believe. So if either one of those work for you, you can try out the pattern and see what you think. It's not expensive at all. I believe the pattern was around $6, which is very, very, very reasonable for a pattern, especially one that had this much detail and all these new stitches. And I believe the pattern goes from small to extra large, but because it's sideways knit, you can modify it basically to any width you need. You just have to add more rows and measure as you go. It's very easy to plan exactly what you need to be done, and the width that you want and everything that you're looking for. So I hope that this gave you an idea of some of the neat garments that you can crochet, and maybe, well, hopefully you'll check out the pattern and try it out for yourself. And if this is something that you'd like to try to make. This is the Garter Marler cardigan by Stephen West. My version is done in fingering sock yarn. I know you're surprised. I used a merino nylon that I got from a yarn advent from Moonglow Fiber Yarn Company. I believe that's it. All of the yarn and pattern information will be in the transition slide beforehand so that you will get the correct details. This is a rainbow and I love it. I was so excited when I saw that there was a Rainbow Advent available that I ordered it, I believe in 2022. Now, I didn't make many modifications for this pattern. I did add bigger buttons. This is just for my ease of being able to button them and hopefully them not coming undone, especially when I'm wearing it. That's kind of a pain. Now, I love the round yoke that this cardigan has. It might not be your cup of tea. I've heard that this extra fabric is bothers some people and some people like it. I'm one of the people that really like it. So that's one of the reasons I tend to really like Stephen West's Stephen West garments, is because of the round yoke. Now, I did not have any difficulties making this cardigan. It was super straightforward, and if you've used a Stephen West pattern before, you'll be well aware that if there's anything tricky in any of the construction, he generally has a video tutorial. I think that this is due to the fact that he's been doing a mystery shawl knit along in Octobers for years and years. So he's definitely used to making those videos to help out people following his patterns. I really loved making this. I don't believe it took long. I think I was working on this for about a month. I'm not sure what size I cast on, so that will also be in the transition slide. I love the effect that the marling gives the rainbow, and when he came out with, let's see, first he came out with the Garter Marler Mania pullover, I think. It's basically a pullover version of this cardigan. And I remember being sad because I realized, wow, that's going to be a lot of purling. And then the cardigan came out and I'm like, yes, the cardigan's only going to be knitting, because since you're knitting flat, you go back and forth, and which turns into garter stitch. So there was no purling in this cardigan unless you count the ribbing. I don't really count the ribbing because, you have to eat. All garments have that, so that's not a factor. But purling doesn't really bother me. It's just knitting is so much easier, and this was really like a potato chip knit where you just sat down and you grabbed your color and you grabbed the color you were transitioning to, and you just knit and knit. It wasn't much in the way of thinking. You had increases up at the top like a round yoke garment would, and then once you split for the sleeves, piece of cake. The only thing that I did do is that I kind of worked this in tandem, the body in tandem with the sleeves, and that's just because I wanted to get the color perfect, the amount of rows on each side perfect. So I would knit a strip of the body and then knit the two sleeves and go back and forth just to make sure that I didn't run out of the yarn colors that I had. I haven't seen many people's projects on Ravelry knit this, but I'm sure that they're beautiful. Generally, I research a pattern before I buy it and look at all of the projects, and then I'll go back once or twice, but once I knit it, it's kind of in my head, so I don't need to reference those notes anymore. Side note, if you are on Ravelry and you are looking up a pattern, if you're doing a search on projects from that pattern, you can actually go up to advanced search and include different note text for your search. Say I'm doing a cardigan and I'm worried about the sleeve scythe not being big enough. So I can look in the notes and say, hey, I'll search for the word sleeve. Was anybody else concerned about the sleeves on this cardigan? And then it will search through all the project notes and bring back just the projects that have the word sleeve in them. That has been super useful in the past when I've been worried about different parts of the garment, or I haven't understood what a designer means when they're talking about something in the pattern. And it just gives me a little bit of reassurance on whether I'm following through and doing things correctly. That's also a really good use case for project photos that are in progress, because that has also helped me out more than once. But yeah, I love this sweater. It's so cute. Or this cardigan, it's so cute. It makes me so happy looking at it. You know, it's like your own personal rainbow. You'll notice that I tend to go with either pinks or blues or rainbow. So you'll see a trend after a while with the colors that I pick. I hope that this introduced you to the Garter Marler cardigan by Stephen West. And hopefully I'll get to see yours too if you decide to make it. This is the Easter West by Joji Locatelli. I did this sweater last year during the Joji Locatelli's Make-a-thon. That starting again August 15th, signups are open from August 15th to August 30th if you're interested. It's a huge knit along that Joji hosts on her Ravelry group, and you sign up for different patterns. And you can sign up for as many as you like, and if you finish your project, you tag the ID that they give you and tag it the way that they instruct you to on their Ravelry group, and then you're entered for some prizes. So it's really neat to see everybody's renditions of her different patterns. So this year I will probably be on Team Cardigan and Team Pullover again. Big surprise there. But this was, like I said, the Easter West. This is done in fingering weight yarn. This sweater is so light and so soft and so comfortable. Okay, I screwed up blocking this. Now I want you to take heed of the words that I am saying. When you are knitting with bright colored yarn, say like this pinkish purple, do not let your garment sit in water for very long. Chances are it will bleed. Now, in my head, I knew this, and I actually pre-washed these skeins of yarn. I especially pre-washed this pink. But what I didn't do, and what I should have done, and what I've learned since then, is that I can take Syntherpool, which is, it comes in a bottle about this big, and pull out excess color. So maybe it doesn't set it, maybe it pulls it out, but either way, it's the stuff that basically like the color catchers, I think Shout has them. So yes, I had a big mishap after I finished this garment. I put it in the water and then promptly forgot it was in the water, and then the pink bled. I worked very hard to get it as good as it is here. I wanted this sweater so bad. You have no idea how bad I wanted to make this sweater. And then once it bled, it broke my heart. I might end up making another one, but it's too soon. And you know, it's just a tiny bit of bleeding. It seems like a gigantic waste to make this sweater again in yarn that looks like this with just a tiny bit of bleeding on this, near where the pinkish purple is. To me, it's just a giant waste, and I'd rather just wear it like it is. This pattern was super easy to follow, and I actually used pretty much spot on the same colors that Joji had in her sample. because I saw this sweater and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need that sweater. It's beautiful. And honestly, if you ignore the bleeding, this would probably be my favorite sweater. I've got bracelet length right here. The yarn is so soft and so comfortable. This is Yarn Cafe Creations, and the yarn is just brilliant. The bleeding had nothing to do with the yarn dyer. It was literally my fault leaving it in the water for way longer than it should have. I had gotten distracted and made a big oopsie, and that's what happens sometimes. But I've since gotten Syntherpool, and I will definitely be using that to treat any yarn with vibrant colors, which is like all of my yarn. I love vibrant colors. So if it's not like commercial dyed, like commercial dyed sock yarn, I'm definitely going to be treating it. If it's reds or bright blues or purples, it's just the nature of the beast, you know. We have all this beautiful yarn, and sometimes oopsies happen through no fault of anyone's. It's just the way it is sometimes. Anyways, this sweater has ribbing right down the center, which I find very flattering, and it ends in just a little rib. Oh, I love this thing. I should really make another one, but I'm not going to. I'm going to tough it out with this. I think it's a good reminder. If I make another one, I will not use these colors. I will use a gray, the white, and then probably like a neon Slimer green. I don't know if you're old enough to remember Ghostbusters, but Slimer green, that green. I think that it would just be really cute that way. Let's see, this, I cannot remember how long this took me to make, but it wouldn't have been more than like 2 to 3 weeks, because it's a sweater, and even though this is ribbing, I believe you start with this first and then work out. So it really, once you get the like the base, the main part of any garment, it's all smooth sailing from there. And the pattern, well, yeah, I'm gonna call it a pattern. I'm not gonna call it lace, because even though it has a yarn over, you can tell it's not really lace. But the pattern is super simple. I think that a beginner could make this pretty easy. And it fits very well too. Look at that. Sleeves are perfect for me. This is like my dream sleeve right here. I don't have to worry about it getting like wet or, yeah, it's a great pattern. If you have any interest in knitting a sweater and you're looking for a lighter weight sweater, something that you could wear like all year around and not get overheated and have something comfortable, you know what? You could even customize this. If you were crazy, and well, I'm not going to say crazy. If you were very ambitious and don't mind weaving in ends, you could probably make each of these pink stripes a different color. Like, imagine like a rainbow instead of just the pink. I think that would be so cute. You could even use like self-striping yarn, and then that would take some of the hard work out of it. Maybe, because it doesn't, the repeat wouldn't be long. It'd have to be really short to work well. But look, I love it. Even the yarn is comfortable. I should really try to get some more of this. But, and the neck is great. I'm sorry, this isn't very informative, is it? If, like I said, if you're, even if you've never knit a sweater before, you could definitely take this one on. I didn't find anything hard about it. I didn't have to modify it in any way. it's Joji Locatelli, so her size range is amazing. And you can customize it in so many different ways. Like, you could make this panel a different, like, different colors. You could make it striped for all it mattered. The sky's really the limit. It's just basically a basic sweat, almost like a sweatshirt. You know, it's that comfy. It's just a basic sweater, and you have a blank canvas to do whatever you want on it. But I love these colors. It's still a bummer about the purple pink, but